Hello one and all, Jasper here and it's over. This is the last episode I'll have to do for a long time in regards to the differences between the show and the books. And boy howdy, are we ending it, because we are finishing off with one hell of a shit show, starting with a terrible first opening scene. We have Tywin Lannister talking with these three random-ass pirates, and I call them random-ass pirates because I refuse to think that there is any fucking way that they are in charge or speaking on behalf of the Triarchy. The Triarchy is an alliance between three cities in Essos, Myr, Lys, and Tyrosh, which follow the orders of the High Council, who are made up of some of the richest magisters in the three regions, specifically 11 from each. You would never catch a magister dressed like this and sitting on the ground. They would more likely have slaves prostrated to be their chairs than to sit like this. Also, it seems like these guys are completely useless, because later on, despite agreeing to the terms, these pirates still need Tywin to convince their commander, Lohar, who in the show has been changed to a woman. At least, I think. The men address him as he, him, but the actor clearly looks like a woman. The actor is a trans woman, and I can't help but find that hilarious, that this person has gone through the trouble to transition from a man to a woman, and now gets a part in Hot D where everyone misgenders them. Also, the pirates misgendering them seems odd. They call her a man because of the position of power they hold? I honestly have no idea if this is progressive or bigoted, as I'm just really confused on who thought that this made any sense. Focusing on the differences, though, as mentioned before, Lohar was a man in the books, but honestly, this is probably more of an adaptation of Racalio, as there are a lot more similarities between them and show Lohar. Racalio in the books is a captain who takes part in the coming battle. He is a man who enjoys dressing like a woman and would often pretend to be a whore, and had a dozen wives who he would ask to beat him, which lines up a lot more with our Lohar in the show. Really fast though, how the fuck did he pretend to be a female whore? The man is 6.5 feet tall and had a multicolored beard, and was a monster in the battlefield. You ain't tricking anyone with that kind of build. I'm getting off topic though. Next scene we have is Sharp Point being torched by Aemond. This never happened in the books. In fact, Aemond does a few things that never happened, like trying to force Helena to assist him in battle as she rides one of the largest dragons in the realm. We are talking about Vermithor levels here. However, because of the depression she gained after the murder of her son, remember? Her kid was butchered in the very first episode, and now no one seems to really remember or talk about it? Yet in the books, that drives her to madness to such an extent that the Greens could not at all count on her as a dragon rider. We're going to be skipping over several scenes now because they have sort of already been covered in previous episodes. I'd just be repeating myself. So now we are back in Essos and we have Tywin mud wrestling Lohar. What the fuck is this? Okay, a few things. First off, she will only sail with a man who can best her at mud wrestling. In that case, it explains why so many men sail with her, because any average guy would be able to bury this bitch. This is some playground bullshit I would expect from Dothraki kids, but not those who serve in the Triarchy. Piss off with this useless bit of filler. Speaking of useless filler, we have Jace still pouting about how he isn't a super unique bastard, and how it isn't fair that other bastards get to bond with dragons. Thankfully, Bela tells him to shut the fuck up. It's the fact he is a prince that makes him special. His mom was rich, and so he is special. Moving on. Let's spend a little time in Harrenhal, where we have Sir Alfred Broom arriving, and pretty much admitting straight to Daemon that he wishes to support him over his wife Rhaenyra, which seems like a very, very risky first conversation to have, but either way, this conversation never took place in the books. Alfred never at any point tossed his lot behind Daemon. Later on, Daemon, thanks to some old god magic, sees a vision of the future, and fuck me, can you just piss off with these visions? They are not good. Nobody wants them at all. It just adds more issues to the story, such as the Doom visions being a motivation that Daemon finally throws his lot in with Rhaenyra. Yay, because that is way more interesting than him slowly growing to support her because he comes to realize he isn't right to be queen, or still sticks to his selfish plans, waiting for the opportunity where he can take charge, thus adding some turmoil to the Blacks. But no, he supports Rhaenyra because ice zombies will be coming to Westeros in over a century. Yay. Always good to make sure we remember this is connected to Game of Thrones. Speaking of, though, why doesn't Daemon have Alfred executed when he decides to pull his support in on Rhaenyra? You can't convince me that Daemon wouldn't do that. He has killed people for far, far less in the past. Now, here's a scene that I actually enjoyed. We have Alyn ripping into Corlys about how difficult and sad he and his brother's lives were without a father, and it's a very well-acted scene. However, in the books, Alyn and Adam had pretty decent lives. Don't get me wrong, not having a father sure sucked, but their mother, Merilda, was a captain of a ship called Mouse and was able to build up enough wealth to own 7 ships that both of her sons served on. They were pretty well off and definitely never in a worry about going hungry. Alright, I think that's most of it, right? Yep. What was I talking about? This episode isn't nearly as bad as I felt. I guess I can just call it here. Everyone watching, I hope you have a wonderful night.
Why have you come here?
Because I lost my way. Or rather, it was taken from me.
What the Kansas City fuck is this? Alicent sneaks into Dragonstone, somehow getting past the blockade. Super impressive, to tell Rhaenyra that she will make sure the city surrenders to her so long as she spares her family. Rhaenyra says can't do that, Aegon needs to die, to which Alicent says, okay. This goes beyond Alicent being a terrible adaptation to her book counterpart, because surprise, surprise, there was never a moment when Alicent snuck into Dragonstone and had a little chit-chat with Rhaenyra. This is almost as dumb as when Rhaenyra did it to Alicent in episode 3. Almost. At least Alicent is so useless, it makes sense why Rhaenyra wouldn't keep her as a hostage, and instead let her go back to King's Landing. For the love of God, I'm going to have to start working on a video going over just why Alicent is such a repugnant character. Anyways, the last bit of this episode is jumping around the world as we see armies gather, characters getting ready for war, and all that shit. And really, only 2 things caught my attention. You bet your ass that Thailand was not a part of the fleet that sailed to attack the Velaryons. And for some reason, Otto is imprisoned somewhere? Fucking hell, I would have rather seen how this happened than half the shit Alicent, Rhaenyra, and Daemon go through. But no, Otto was never captured like this, and I have some very serious questions on how and who is responsible for this, both in the regards to who does it in the show, and the writers who thought it was a good idea to remove Otto from most of the season. But that is it. The terrible show does not end with a bang, but a whimper. I pray HBO cleans up shop, but I don't see that happening at this rate. If you made it this far and liked the video, make sure to subscribe as I have some more videos coming up that should be a lot more enjoyable than this. Until then, be safe, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.